Marvel's latest cinematic universe streaming series is Echo. I caught the first episode. Starring Aliqua Cox, am I saying that wrong? She's a Native American deaf amputee. That's right, a quadruple whammy. The show starts off with the fanciful depiction of the origin of her tribe, told by two girls, one of them being the young Maya, who is at this point just deaf and Native American and female. Blah blah, little setup, let's get in a car wreck, mom dies, girl loses a limb. Dad gets work in New York City, working for Wilson Fisk, Kingpin. Vincent D'Onofrio returning to the role. I never watched Daredevil, but I'm assuming people like him. When a vigilante kills Dad, Echo gets brought into the mob, wants revenge. Arguably better prolonged, sustained fight sequence than one may expect, but this doesn't seem to strike me as much of a character. Like, you got a lot of boxes you have to check, so you don't really get strong actress here, let alone one with facial expressions. And the middle part of this premiere moves way too quick, and it caused me to have to pause things and have to go, well, what's the deal here? It turns out this is a spin-off from the Hawkeye and Hangs Out with the Girl show, which obviously I didn't watch, but you can see how her encounter with Hawkeye is really just squeezed in here. It's way more abrasive than her fight with Daredevil. Now look, I don't know what happened exactly here, but I guess she just takes Hawkeye's word for whatever because he's an Avenger and says Kingpin would have had her dad killed anyway, so she shoots Kingpin. Retreats back to her hometown in Oklahoma, which I don't think this is actually shot in Oklahoma. I lived there for long enough, it doesn't look that green. And the dirt is as red as you've heard. Meets up with a guy who runs a skating rink, but he also evidently is tied into her dad's life of crime. She climbs a water tower to spy on her cousin and plan a cool action sequence on a train. Oh, and Kingpin is still alive because why not? It's Marvel, we can't kill villains. And there's your Echo series premiere, dotted with several fades to black because now we have to bake in these ad breaks on every streaming platform. And I'm not saying I was expecting to walk away from Echo, but I thought this was going to be the now normal once a week drip feed. But no, it's full on binge release like Netflix. So I actually sat down and watched the remaining episodes, and boy do I have thoughts. In episode 2, we get that scene where white people try to expand their understanding of other cultures and are made the butt of a joke. We get to see more of the comedic sidekick Cousin Biscuits, kind of a highlight of the series. And finally, we're starting to get introduced to Maya's powers. Of course, there's got to be some kind of power. She seems to have some kind of ancestral power, but it's possibly only effective so long as she's home. Turns out blowing up the bad guy's armory will have them coming to town looking for Maya so that we can have some light gun foo over at the roller rink. This brings Fisk to town. He wants to have a chat with Maya, and really you're starting to understand that as a spinoff goes, it very much makes required viewing of Hawkeye's show, leaving me totally in the dark and feeling like all of this backstory and the interactions between her and Kingpin that we see brief flashbacks of were, I'm assuming, better established elsewhere. And Cox is not lead actress material at all. I mean, she is more of a stunt woman given a role and is just trounced by every single actor on the show. Now, consider the limitations here for a deaf character who isn't going to have lines spoken. So in the very least, we're expecting some kind of emotion in her face, and we just get nothing but this blank pout for pretty much the entire show. So Kingpin offers Maya the role of Queen Pin. Like, he doesn't have a kid, so hey, I feel like I'm your dad. And I feel like given the circumstance, he's being really generous. But Maya says no, and of course this leads to her family being captured. Maya dons an outfit, which I think we can't use the term costume. Look, it's costumes to us, but within the narrative, these characters are not playing, so they don't have a costume. They have like a uniform or armor. Everything goes down at the big powwow because everything revolves around plot convenience. Be it a phone call placed just in time so that people don't get killed, Kingpin seeming to know exactly where Maya's going to be at all times, or Biscuits getting use out of a monster truck. Oh, and because she really needs it, Maya gets those ancestor powers, and I suppose all the women in her family have them also, because why not? And by ancestor powers, I mean your fist turns red and you can punch men. But Maya's mom had a healing ability, and she's able to, I guess, fix the psyche of Kingpin by having him revisit his abusive childhood. So she sends him packing, of course, and now he moles running for mayor of New York City. It looks like Maya's going to stay in town and finally smile. Now, I haven't seen every one of these MCU series, but I would say that Echo is not the worst, or at least the worst season. The problems are all the usual, the story's uninteresting and predictable. Maya's disabilities and powers, though they seem like they should be unique, feel like garnishings that could be swapped out for any other hero to obtain the exact same results. I suppose the plan is to label Echo a miniseries up front, and if it's a huge success, then we can say there's a season 2. So what'd you think of this Echo spinoff? Am I correct in my assumption that the more interesting aspects of the character were shown or at least alluded to elsewhere? Is it a deal breaker that the character got moved from being Blackfeet to Choctaw, and is this a cause of outrage only if either group has purchasing power? I think I would have enjoyed the series more if it was not involved in the MCU whatsoever. I wouldn't have to whip out my glossary on characters, see if I was supposed to know who they are and what their current status is. It's just everything's so incredibly convoluted. We're taking in a lot of media right now, and only the diehards are keeping pace with every plot thread.
Thank you for watching my son's YouTube station. It's not for everyone, but he tries. Maybe if you bought some merch below, he'll eventually get good at the YouTubing.